Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It feels like it's been forever since I got to film a video, and that's because I work in retail and it's been chaotic to say the least. But I wanted to do like a last book haul of 2021 video. So I won a contest with my job where I got a $50 Amazon gift card, and I was like, I'll buy some books for myself. So these are some of the books that I bought. There is another book that I could have sworn that I bought when I was looking for the books last night. It's like, where is that one book? And then I went back and I realized, oh, I didn't buy it because it was the most expensive one, and I would have spent half of the money on that book. So maybe I'll mention it at the end. I'm hoping that I get it for Christmas because it still is on my Christmas wish list. But here are some of the books that I bought with my prize money. Yeah, so here we go. The first book I bought is Invisible Women, Data Bias in a World Designed for Men by Caroline Criado Perez. I've heard a lot about this. I saw this on TikTok a few months ago and have seen it several times since, where people were asking for nonfiction recommendations, and this was one of them. Now I don't have like a good way of like summarizing this for y'all, so most of these I'm going to read the back for you just so I get it right. So, data is fundamental to the modern world. From economic development to healthcare to education and public policy, we rely on numbers to make crucial decisions. But when data fails to take into account gender and treats men as the default and women as atypical, bias and discrimination are baked into our systems. And women pay the price in time and money, and often with their lives. Celebrated feminist activist Caroline Criado Perez investigates the shocking root cause of gender inequality and research in Invisible Women, diving into women's lives at home, the workplace, the public sphere, and the doctor's office, and more. Built on hundreds of studies from around the world and written with energy, wit, and sparkling intelligence, this was a groundbreaking, unforgettable book. I also posted this on Instagram, 3 of the books I got, and asked if anybody had read it. Somebody left a comment and they were like, oh no, this is really great. You're gonna enjoy it. The font is a little bit small, so it's probably gonna, give textbook vibes in the way that I look at books and read them when it comes to text, but that's okay. I do plan on reading this next year. I'm probably gonna take my time with it because, it's gonna be like very information heavy. And it is kind of a thick, not super thick, but this is one of the larger like nonfiction books I read, because I've just recently realized, in a good way, that I don't really read like super duper thick nonfiction books. I prefer a short gal, and that's okay. So Invisible Women is first on the list of things that I bought. Next up is Without Apology, The Abortion Struggle Now by Jenny Brown. Now this is a small little book. I think this came out in 2018 or 2019, and obviously it's about things like the abortion ban, bodily autonomy, so on and so forth. So, with an anti-abortion majority on the Supreme Court and several states attempting to outlaw abortion altogether, many activists are on the defensive, hoping to hold on to reproductive rights in a few places and cases. The spirited book shows how feminism can start winning again. Brown argues that politically conservative nonprofits have been setting the agenda, emphasizing rare tragic cases and relying on the rhetoric of choice and privacy. Instead, it is time to return to the fundamental ideas that won legal abortion in the first place. Women publicly telling the full truth of their own experience, demanding repeal of all abortion restrictions, and showing how abortion and birth control are the key demands in the struggle for women's freedom. Blam! I'm very excited to read this. I think this is going to be like a nice little addition to a book that I've mentioned several times, which is called Pro, and it's about being pro-choice. I haven't read it yet, but I have a feeling this is going to be something that I highly recommend. If you are pro-choice, pick it up. I have a feeling it's going to be good. Next up, I bought Playing the Whore, The Work of Sex Work by Melissa Gira Grant. I believe I saw this recommended on a TikTok as well, and this is basically pro-sex work. And I actually read a little bit of it so far, but I didn't have my, so I made it to page 22, but I didn't have my little things to annotate. So I'm probably going to restart it again, just so I can put some little sticky notes in there. But The sex industry is an endless source of prurient drama from the mainstream media. Recent years have seen a panic over online red light districts, which supposedly seduce vulnerable young women into the life of degradation. A New York Times columnist, Nicholas Kristof's lives tweeting of a Cambodian brothel raid, but rarely do these fearful, salacious dispatches come from sex workers themselves, and rarely do they deviate from the position that sex workers must be rescued from their condition and the industry simply abolished, a position common among feminists and conservatives alike. In Playing the Whore, journalist Melissa Gira Grant turns these pieties on their head, arguing for an overhaul in a way we think about sex work, based on 10 years of writing and reporting on the sex trade and grounded in her experience as an organizer, advocate, and former sex worker. Playing the Whore dismantles pervasive myths about sex work, criticizes both conditions within the sex industry and its criminalization, and argues that separating sex work from the legitimate economy only harms those who perform sexual labor. So this is another really short book. Oh, what's the other one that I'm wanting to read? Oh, it's over here in the corner. I'll put a picture. So there are two books that are like on my to be read that are pro sex work that I'm really excited to read for the next year. I don't think I'm going to get a chance to actually finish this year in 2021. So let's just put it on the to be read of 2022. And the last nonfiction book I bought was Men Who Hate Women, From Incels to Pickup Artists, The Truth About Extreme Misogyny and How It Affects Us All by Laura Bates. I feel like I've seen this in a video or two. I'm not sure, but the reason why I wanted to get this was because I was browsing through like the social sciences section in Barnes & Noble. And to me, when you see a title like that, it obviously sticks out to you. I think as women, we know the violence that can be inflicted upon us and people that we know and love, or not even someone that we know and love, just any person out there has experienced something like this. So with a title like that, it's like you probably have an experience with it. But this is a groundbreaking book that pulls back the curtain on the terrorist movement no one is talking about. Women's rights activist Laura Bates has been the target of many misogynistic attacks online, from hate-filled Twitter rants to vivid depictions of her own rape and even death threats. At first, the vitriol seemed to be the work of a small handful of individual men, but over time, the volume and consistency of the attacks hinted at something bigger and more ominous. As Bates followed the thread of online misogyny further into the corners of the internet, the spiral of hateful and toxic rhetoric deepened until she found an unseen, organized movement of thousands of anonymous men wishing violence and worse upon women. The terrorism no one is talking about, Men Who Hate Women, examines the rise of secretive extremist communities who despise women, as Bates traces the roots of misogyny across a complex spiderweb of groups, extending from pickup artists to incel movement. This is also something that I think is going to be kind of like a, I don't want to say textbook, but you know, all of these books are informative, obviously, but some are probably a little bit more thicker than other. This is going to be one of those, which I have a feeling I'm going to have to take my time with. There's going to be a lot of information. There's probably going to be a lot of stuff in here that is hard to read, especially if she's talking from her own experience about being someone who's received threats and disgusting comments like that. So, has anybody read this book? Anybody read any of the other books that I've bought? I'd love to hear what you have to say, or if there's any that stick out to you that you'd like to read. I almost forgot. I wanted to mention The Right to Sex, Feminism in the 21st Century by Amiya Srinivasan. And it looks like this. I don't know if I'm going to end up putting a bigger picture in here or not. But this was another one that I saw this in Barnes & Noble. And the cover is beautiful, by the way. I don't know what it is about that blue to green ombre situation, but I was like, I'm loving it. But this is the one that was $25, and I was like, I can get 2 books or I can get 4 books. So let me put this one on the Christmas wish list. But let's see. Let me get you a little explanation of it. All right. The Right to Sex, Feminism in the 21st Century upends the way we discuss or avoid discussing the problems and politics of sex. How should we think about sex? Is it a thing we have and also a thing we do, a supposedly private act laden with public meaning, a personal preference shaped by outside forces, a place where pleasure and ethics can pull wildly apart? How should we talk about sex? Since Me Too, many have fixed on consent as a key framework for achieving sexual justice. Yet consent is a blunt tool to grasp sex in all of its complexity, its deep ambivalences, its relationship to gender, class, race, and power. We need to move beyond yes and no, wanted and unwanted. We do not know the future of sex, but perhaps we could imagine it. Amia's stunning debut helps us do just that. She traces the meaning of sex in our world, animated by the hope of a different world. She reaches back into an older feminist tradition that was unafraid to think of sex as a political phenomenon. She discusses a range of fraught relationships between discrimination and preference, pornography and freedom, rape and racial justice, punishment and accountability, students and teachers, pleasure and power, capitalism and liberation. The right to sex is a provocation and a promise, transforming many of our most urgent political debates and asking what it might mean to be free. And it has a 4.27 rating, so that is interesting. So it's got pretty good reviews, but yeah, this was the one that like I could have swore I bought. I did not have on my bookcase. So hopefully I do get that for Christmas. I'd really like to read it, but if not, obviously I'll end up buying it. So those were the 4 nonfiction books that I actually bought. And that was also the 5th book that I had wanted that I forgot that I didn't buy. And you know what? Just to be a little like, let's add some more to the video. I got something from Book of the Month. So obviously I kind of bought more books in December in a haul type of situation. So let's just mention it, because I don't think I really talk about the books I get from Book of the Month until like I've actually read it. I don't actually put it in a haul for the month. So let's add this one to the very end. Here we go. So I got A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. Let me know if I said that right. With Book of the Month, you get it. Like, you pick the book, and then I opened the box and I was like, was this the book I picked? I forgot. So I had to go in here and read it again because I don't remember what it was about. So let's discover this together. When Chloe Davis was 12, 6 teenage girls went missing in her small Louisiana town. By the end of the summer, her own father had confessed to the crimes and was put away for life, leaving Chloe and the rest of her family to grapple with the truth and try to move forward with dealing with the aftermath. Now, 20 years later, Chloe is a psychologist in Baton Rouge and getting ready for her wedding. While she finally has a fragile grasp on the happiness she's worked so hard to achieve, she sometimes feels out of control of her own life as the troubled teens who are her patients. So when a local teenage girl goes missing and then another, a terrifying summer comes crashing back. Is she paranoid, seeing parallels from her past that aren't actually there, or for the second time in her life, is she about to unmask a killer? So this is a debut author, and that's exciting. I don't know why, but for some reason reading that, it gave me like a weird feeling of when I read, oh God, what was that book? The Night Swim. I wonder if, obviously that's more like, it's like a podcast type thing, but I'm wondering if I'm going to get that same feeling because I really liked The Night Swim. This sounds like it's going to be pretty good. Speaking to the people who do Book of the Month, what did y'all pick for Book of the Month? Did you pick this book? Sometimes I feel like there are so many books that I want from Book of the Month, and then I feel like there are some months where I'm just like, I don't think I need to own that, So there you have it. That is my last book haul of 2021. Like I said earlier, are there any books that you're interested in that I mentioned? Any of them that you would want to read? I'd love to know if you've read any of these nonfiction books or they are ones that you're interested in. And again, what did you get for Book of the Month in the month of December? I'd love to know. And did you buy this one in particular? So maybe I would say let's do a buddy read, but let's be honest. I'm in kind of a reading slump right now. You'll see when I do a wrap-up video. I think I've done a good job, but it doesn't feel like it. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Everybody have a great day. And yeah, goodbye.